People pick up running for its health benefits, and while others get addicted to the grind and hooked on the euphoria and mental clarity it gives, others enjoy this one specific aspect too: gears, specifically shoes. But the question is, do average runners really need high-end shoes? Now let's talk about it with multi-sport coach and endurance athlete, Ige Lopez. It's a beautiful day, Coach. Good morning.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Now,
Hi.
Coach, I'm not a runner, and I'm sure some of our viewers who don't know anything about running, this is the first that I've heard of a carbon plate shoe. So can you explain what that is first and foremost?
Okay, well, carbon-plated shoes are basically, yes, carbon plates that they insert in the midsole, and then it's quite rigid and it's very stiff. But it's the good thing there, it gives you a pretty good bounce, and it's sort of like there's like an energy return that will help you propel better when you run or when you do a push-off. Yes.
Coach, when I'm looking at all this technology, and first of all, I'm a casual runner, not really a serious runner. I don't really train for events. Though, what I do know, talking to a lot of runners, is that one of the things that forces them to run is that ang dami nilang bagong sapatos eh. Like every time they run, there's always a new shoe na kailangan may rotation sila. And carbon plates are something that they're considering more and more. But it also comes with a bit of a cost. For the casual runner, why would they, or why should they, or at least consider carbon plates? Or do you feel that this should be something na, okay, hindi ka naman gano'ng kaseryoso. Maybe you don't need the carbon plate technology when it comes to actually enjoying running?
Yeah, well, yeah, to be honest, you don't really need carbon-plated shoes. You just need a decent shoe that has good upper material that is very breathable, a good midsole, and it's pretty cushioned enough, but it has stability. It should have support, and it can last several months or and many kilometers of running. Yes.
Well, Coach, just looking at some of the times in general, kasi sinasabi nga nila that carbon plate shoes actually can really help out, cut off a few seconds, maybe a few minutes, depending on how quickly you go, from your record time. Now, when you hear about people turning to technology to try and make their time, well, a bit more appealing or beat their own PRs, their own records, some people are against that, considering na hindi naman totoo kasi dahil sa sapatos yan eh, because with technology. Where do you stand when that type of conversation comes up?
Well, to be honest, it's really meant for the more seasoned runners, for seasoned athletes, because you have to really build your muscles first. You have to build the right technique. You have to build the deep, basic aerobic base foundation. So if you don't have any of these foundation, these high-tech shoes might even be more at disadvantage for you because it's because your footwork is not efficient enough, and then that might lead you to more injuries. So I would suggest that you would stick to the basic shoes, and then you can use these high-tech shoes for maybe shorter. If you're more familiar with running already, if you're like maybe been running for more than a year or so, because that for more or less you'll be you're more accustomed to it already. But if you're not used to the running form, the efficiency, you're not using your foot strike is not correct, that might definitely lead you to injuries. So yes.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And it's interesting as well that you mentioned earlier that with the carbon plates, it's actually stiffer. And I read an article that typically you just use the shoes with carbon plates during race day. But for those runners who have bought carbon shoes already, what do you recommend or what advice do you have for them? They can just use the shoes, I guess, in everyday training.
Well, they can rotate it. That would be good. They can get maybe a cheaper shoe and then another shoe. That carbon-plated shoe, so that they can use it and rotate it. So you can use it for maybe shorter runs until you get more comfortable to it. And then once you are comfortable with that carbon-plated shoe, then you can gradually increase your mileage on that shoe. Because using these stiff shoes might definitely put a strain on your calves, on your shins, on your sole. So trying to gradually build up towards that will definitely help you sustain it. Sustain your running better.
Coach, I love that because I can already imagine it right now. Someone watching this program saying that, did you hear that? Coach Ige said I have to buy more shoes to change the rotation.
That's me.
Oo,
Oh my
ito,
gosh, I have a shoe problem, especially when it comes to running shoes, even though I don't run.
Ay, my goodness. Okay, so that's a different story. But Coach, just from a technical perspective here, kasi medyo stiff nga ang carbon plating. And there are shoes with certain break-in periods, especially like you need to hit a certain number of kilometers before it actually softens up or when it actually starts feeling comfortable. Normally, how long does that take? Kasi syempre, you mentioned perhaps only use the carbon-plated shoes for race day, but then is the break-in period, well, a bit of a challenge there when it comes to keeping that type of usage in mind?
Well, I tell my athletes actually to use it first. Start it by running maybe 5K or 30 minutes of running. Try to adapt yourself to the new shoe, to the new technology. And then once you're accustomed to it, then pwede mo na siyang iparada. You can park it first and then use your other shoes. And then once your race is coming up, you can use it again. You can try to use it for a couple of long runs, just to let your body adapt to it. And then try to find that sweet spot with that shoe. And then when you're comfortable with it, then you can park it there. And then maybe a week before the race, you can use it again. And then on race day, you'll be ready and you're using that racing shoe.
Your body has to adapt to it talaga na, Coach.
Yeah, so usually talaga you get to cover around 40 to 50K. That's good enough that's a good break-in mileage for that shoe.
Oh, that's a long time for me, 40 to 50K.
Para kay Coach, two days lang yan eh.
Well, I know. Probably kaya ni Coach yan one day. But Coach, as I mentioned, I have a shoe obsession and people think I'm crazy because when I do training, I have different shoes depending on what I'm training, right? If I'm lifting, I have a different shoe. If I'm doing circuits, I have a different shoe. So when it comes to running, when people think of running shoes, I just think of one type of running shoes. But I know there's a lot. There's endurance, there's speed, I guess there's different types. So does it really help to have different shoes for the different types of running?
Well, it's nice to have if you have the freedom of to purchase more shoes. That would be good. But because you have to rotate it, because when you run, you have to work on many components. Like for speed, you need lighter shoes para mas mabilis yung angat ng paa, and then mas feel mo yung ground. And also you can use for long runs. So when you're doing long runs, you need to have a more thicker shoe, a more cushioned shoe that will help you sustain like running for 2, 3, or 4 hours. While using a daily trainer, like a regular shoe that you can use during your weekday runs, that's also good. So having maybe 2 to 3 pairs would definitely help. And then that will also help your shoes last longer. Because one pair of shoe can only last maybe 300 to 500 kilometers, depending on how you use it. So if you rotate it, like if you rotate 3 pairs, then you'll be, and then you can use it longer for maybe a year. You'll be good for maybe 6 months, or depending on the weekly mileage that you do. But having more pairs will definitely help and lessen the chances of injury.
Okay, more pairs, noted, Coach. But for those who are just starting to run and I want to start running, it's daunting and kind of expensive to buy a few pairs of running shoes. So what is your advice to those who are trying to find the perfect first running shoe? Because I know there's a lot to consider. There's if you pronate or not, etc., if you have bad knees. So what is your advice for that one pair of shoe?
Well, for me, get that shoe that really fits you well. Okay, just get the basics that you have to have an inch space in front of the shoe, so you can have there will be a time for, because when your foot lands, it spreads out and may impact. So you have to have maybe a roomier toe box. Because if it's kind of narrow or medyo restricted, then you might have dead toes later on. So we want to prevent that. So it's nice to have a more comfortable shoe by having a more relaxed toe box. And then the upper material should be tough enough so it can last longer. And then, you don't have to get the high-end shoes, just get the mid-range or the entry-level and then progress from there. Who knows, baka hindi pala, you won't like running naman pala, so sayang naman yung 15,000 peso shoe. So try to get a good price range should be around maybe 3,000 to 5,000 pesos. So you can look for that because the higher the price range of the shoe, the more technology it has. So it's because of the technology they put in on the midsole, on the materials. That's how, and then the weight. So the higher the price, the more technology. Hence, lighter, more technology, the carbon plates and everything. But you don't really need all those tech unless you're really a very experienced runner already.
Coach, I in my mind, there is a couple right now fighting in front of a TV, listening to this interview about the shoes that they want to buy today. That's all your fault, Coach. But we really appreciate you for joining us anyway. And we really appreciate all the insights that you've given.
Enjoy shopping.
Yeah, Coach, I'm ready to buy my first running shoe. I'll definitely hit you up and one day we'll run together. Thank you so much, Coach. That's multi-sport coach and endurance athlete, Ige Lopez.